A cold CEO found a girl feeding her baby under the rain, unaware she'd lost everything but hope. The sleet had turned to cold, stinging rain by the time Callum, Frost's car slowed to a crawl near the intersection. The windshield wipers thudded in steady rhythm, smearing the gray of the city lights. He had just left the main Frost Utilities production plant, his last stop of the day. Quality control at the newest assembly line had run longer than expected, and now he was stuck in traffic along the industrial road leading out of the district. He tapped his fingers against the steering wheel, eyes flicking between GPS and the blur of headlights in the rearview mirror. A few feet ahead, his gaze snagged on something out of place. A splash of stillness under the flickering orange street lamp by the bus shelter. It was a woman hunched on a wet bench, arms wrapped tightly around something, cradled in her lap. Callum squinted. A baby. The child was swaddled in a light blanket pressed against the woman's chest. She held a thin, tattered coat over them both, her shoulders shivering from the rain. The baby made a soft, coughing noise, hardly audible through the glass, but enough to make him glance again. He checked the time, nearly 900 p.m. Against his better judgment, Callum flipped his hazard lights on and pulled to the curb. He reached over to the back seat and retrieved the spare rain poncho and stepped into the downpour. The cold bit into his skin at once. The woman looked up. Her face was pale, damp hair clinging to her temples. Tired eyes met his briefly, cautious then confused. "I'm fine," she said quickly, clutching the baby tighter. "We're just waiting for the next bus." He didn't reply, only held out the rain poncho. She hesitated. "Really? We're okay." Then the baby coughed again, sharper this time. Without a word, Callum crouched slightly, shielding the baby with the poncho. The woman looked like she might protest, but her arms loosened just a little. "My car is right there," he said. "It's warm. I'll take you somewhere close." She stared at him for a long second, eyes flickering with doubt and something else. Wariness maybe, or the instinct of a mother weighing what her child needed more than her pride. She nodded once. Inside the car, the heater against her chest. Her clothes were damp, sleeves frayed at the edges. Her coat smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and rain. Callum didn't ask her name, and she didn't offer it. She murmured to the baby as he drove. Soft nothings, like almost home, little one, and it's okay now. Mommy's here. The apartment, the building was old, she said. Half of its lights flickered or were out completely. He parked without a word. As she opened the door to leave, he reached behind him and placed a folded sweater and a small bag of pastries from his earlier meeting on the seat beside her. She looked at the items, then him, hesitating. "For the night," he said simply. Her voice was quiet. "Thank you." She stepped out with the baby, shielding the child's head from the rain. Callum waited until she reached the stoop before shifting into gear. But just before he drove off, he checked the rearview mirror one last time. She hadn't gone inside. She stood beneath the porch light's flicker, holding the child tight, her head bowed, not moving, just standing a small wet silhouette under the weight of everything. He then drove away, and for reasons he didn't understand yet, he didn't turn the radio back on. The soft ding of the service elevator echoed faintly through the empty lobby as Sharon stepped out onto the sidewalk, a bucket clutched in one hand and a worn cleaning cloth clutched in the other. The Frost Utilities office. The tower loomed quietly above her, tall and glass-fronted, cold under the flickering fluorescent lights. It had been 4 days since the man in the car had given her a ride in the rain. She hadn't expected to see him again, certainly not here. It had come through the employment center. Late-night janitorial work, not glamorous, but steady. Sharon had signed the contract quickly, never noticing the company name until she arrived for orientation. Frost Utilities. She stood at the back of the briefing room while the floor manager read out shift schedules and instructions. Her name was called last. You'll be assigned to the executive floors. 21 to 23 are mostly empty after hours. Keep quiet." She nodded. Quiet was something she'd learned to be. That night, as the building emptied floor by floor, Sharon pushed her cart down the silent hallway of the top floor. Through the glass the walls, city lights blinked below. She moved like a ghost, sweeping, wiping, replacing trash bags. No sound but the soft scuff of her sneakers and the occasional click of her spray bottle. Room by room, she made her way through the executive wing. Most doors were closed, lights off. But one office at the far end still glowed with the light of a desk lamp. Inside sat a man, back to the door, his sleeves rolled up. He was going over reports, his brow furrowed in concentration. Sharon didn't look too closely. The name on the plaque outside the door read Callum Frost. She paused. So it was him, but she said nothing. She kept her eyes low, cleaned the glass quietly, and moved on. The routine became familiar. Night after night, Sharon returned. She was always the last to enter, always the first to leave. She never made any noise, never disturbed anything. But slowly, Callum began to notice. The first time it was the faint smell of lemons, fresh, but not chemical. He looked around and realized the streaks on his office window were gone. His desk had been wiped, but his papers were untouched. Then it was the keyboard next time. He never asked anyone to clean his workstation. He hated people touching his things. But this time the keys weren't sticky, no grime in the crevices, just clean. Then one night, he left a stack of files scattered across his desk in frustration. When he returned the next morning, they were neatly arranged, tabs aligned, untouched except for being better. Callum frowned. He checked security footage, not for suspicion but curiosity. There she was, the girl from the rain, hair tied up in a messy bun, sleeves rolled up, cloth in hand, moving with precision, never more than what was needed, never lingering. Her name tag read Sharon. He should have recognized her sooner, but that night on the curb had blurred into one of those strange, quiet moments life tossed at you, and then stole away before you could make sense of it. A week later, it happened. Callum exited his office around 10:30 p.m., tired, rubbing his eyes, half reading a message on his phone. Sharon also turned at that moment, pushing her cart. They almost ran into each other. She gasped softly, jerking the cart backward. "I'm so sorry," she said hastily, eyes wide as she stepped aside. Callum froze. For a moment, they both just stood still, two shadows in a glass hallway. Their eyes met properly for the first time, not through rain, not across a street. Here, under white office lights. He opened his mouth as if to say something, then stopped. Sharon dipped her head in apology, already stepping away. Callum watched her retreat down the corridor, her figure folding back into the quiet. He didn't speak, only watched her go. And for the first time in weeks, he didn't mind the smell of lemons hanging in the air. The building was nearly silent. The kind of quiet which seeps deep into the walls after midnight. Sharon moved through the storage hallway, the same way she did every night. Careful steps, soft wheels on the mop bucket, cloth draped over her shoulder. But tonight, something was different. From behind the cracked door of the security room, near the supply closet, a soft, muffled whimper echoed, a child's cry short and strained. Sharon slipped inside without turning on the light. Her daughter, Lily, sat on a folded blanket in the corner, cheeks flushed red, small fist pulling at her shirt. "Shh, baby," Sharon whispered, crouching low. "Just a little longer. Mommy's almost done." Lily coughed, a raspy, wet sound. Sharon's hands trembled as she pressed them to the little girl's forehead, burning hot. "No, not tonight." She glanced toward the hallway. She still had 2 floors to finish, and if she left without notice, she might not have a job to return to. She was already 3 days late in paying her rent. Lily sobbed louder. Sharon bit her lip. She rocked the baby gently, humming under her breath, a lullaby her mother used to sing before things changed. Outside the door, footsteps approached. She froze. It was Callum. He wasn't supposed to be here tonight. Yet there he stood in the dim light. Dark coat slung over one shoulder. Watching he stared with puzzlement and concern at the scene before him. "Why is there a child here?" he asked flatly, his eyes narrowing. Sharon stood cradling Lily close. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. "I had no choice. She was running a fever. I couldn't find anyone to watch her." He glanced around the room. The folded blanket, the tiny bottle, the worn-out stuffed rabbit lay nearby. The child coughed again, this time harder. Her whole body jerked with the effort. Sharon's face paled. "Something's wrong. She's never coughed like this." Callum didn't waste any time. "Come on," he said, already turning towards the exit. "We're going." Sharon blinked. "What?" "But I in the back seat." Callum didn't speak. He drove fast but careful, hands tight on the wheel. They arrived at a small 24-hour clinic tucked between a pharmacy and a closed cafe. Callum parked and walked them in, then stepped aside as Sharon spoke with the receptionist. Inside the exam room, the doctor asked routine questions, clipboard in hand. Sharon, voice calm despite the panic in her eyes, explained everything. When the fever began, medication that Lily had taken earlier, and how her daughter had reacted the last time she was sick. "She's allergic to sulfamethoxazole," Sharon said. "Last dose was 12 hours ago. I think her airways are inflamed. It's not just a cold." The doctor paused, eyebrow raised. "You a nurse?" Sharon shook her head. "No." The doctor nodded slowly. "You're right. Well, give her something to dampen the reaction." "Good call." In the hallway, Callum sat stiffly. He sat on the waiting bench, arms crossed. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. When Sharon came out, her face softer though tired. "She'll be okay," she said, brushing hair off Lily's damp forehead. "They're keeping her under observation for an hour, but it's not his eyes. A long time ago, I studied medicine." He didn't ask more, but in the quiet that followed, something shifted. She sat down beside him, arms wrapped around her daughter. The hallway stretched silent, save for the distant sounds of beeping monitors and muffled footsteps. He looked sideways at her, then back to the wall ahead, a janitor with precise knowledge of antibiotics and allergic reactions. "Who are you really?" He didn't say it out loud, but he wouldn't forget that night. After midnight, the rain turned headquarters. The rest of the office had long since gone dark, except for a single floor still aglow with pale overhead, series of slow setbacks. He sipped black coffee, looking at the clock. 12:47 a.m. The soft roll of wheels came from the hallway. Sharon entered, hair tied in her usual messy bun, pale blue cleaning cart gliding behind her. Her footsteps fell quietly. She didn't expect anyone to still be there. "Oh, I didn't think," she started. Callum looked up. "You're already here." Sharon nodded, her tone soft. "Okay." She started wiping anything save the hum of the vending machine. Then, darkness. The lights cut out with a snap. A second later, the emergency light flickered red in the hallway. Sharon froze. Storm must have hit the main line. Callum said backup should kick in soon. But minutes passed. Still nothing. Sharon pulled her phone from her pocket, turning on the flashlight. Callum did the same. "The afraid of the dark. I'm used to it." She pulled a small plastic container from her cart and opened it. The smell of cinnamon and brown sugar wafted across the table. "I baked these last night. Thought I'd need something sweet to stay awake. Cookies." "Technically, yes. But they're softer than they look." He hesitated, then reached for one, took a bite, raised his eyebrows. "You undersold them." She smiled just a little. "Thank you." They sat like that. Two people who shared nothing but silence for weeks, now eat cookies in the dark like old coworkers. Callum finally asked, "You studied medicine?" Sharon looked at him in surprise. "How did you the other night?" "The clinic. You knew what to tell the doctor. You weren't guessing." She looked down at her hands. "I was in my 3rd year, top of my class. Why'd you leave?" Sharon's voice didn't shake. "I got pregnant. The father disappeared. My parents told me I had to abort or go." I opted for the latter option. Callum didn't immediately respond. She said, I cleaned hotel bathrooms when I was 6 months along. Stopped studying, didn't pick up a textbook again. And yet, I still remember everything I learned, she said in a hushed tone. I don't have a degree, but I remember. He looked at her, really looked. Her tired eyes, the creases in her coat, the threadbare cuffs, but her spine was straight. Her gaze didn't lower. There was no apology in her tone, just facts. I don't blame them, she said. Not anymore. I chose to keep my daughter. I still choose her every day. Outside, rain tapped against the glass. From somewhere above them, thunder rumbled again. Callum leaned back, resting his coffee cup down. My mom died when I was 16, he said suddenly. Sharon blinked. She was electrocuted. Faulty water heater. No grounding wire. It was a model I helped install during my internship. He looked down at his hands. I quit the company the next day. And now you own your own, she asked. Because I needed to build something better, safer, where no one else would slightly. Batteries running. In the silence, Callum reached out across the table, his fingers brushing lightly against the back of her hand. Sharon didn't pull away. Instead, she turned her hand over, palm up, and let it rest lightly beneath his. It was a quiet Thursday night, as Sharon was assigned to clean the basement storage floor of Frost Utilities, a space usually untouched, except for inventory audits and occasional equipment delivery. As she moved boxes aside to mop the floor near the back corner, something caught her eye. A thin manila folder wedged between a cabinet and the wall. Dust-covered, its label smudged, but still legible. Q1 rejected applications, recommendation letters, interview notes. All candidates had solid credentials, clean backgrounds. One even held a master's degree in energy systems. And yet every application I made was marked with the same, ambiguous rejection phrase. Failed to meet the performance criteria. Sharon frowned. These weren't people who failed. These were people someone didn't want. She brought the folder upstairs, intending to drop it off at the front desk for the operations manager. But as she passed through the lobby, she saw Callum exiting the elevator. He stopped when he noticed the folder in her hands. Replied, offering it. He took it, flipping it open. His expression shifted within seconds. These were from last quarter. Yes, Sharon said, but most of them seem overqualified. Callum's eyebrows furrowed. He continued walking toward the security desk and gestured for her to follow. Inside the small break room, under the harsh fluorescent lights, he laid out the folder across the table. He began scanning names, notes, cross-referencing with his phone. Sharon stood silent, watching. After 10 minutes, Callum spoke more to himself than to her. These people were all interviewed by one HR rep. Every single rejection signed off by the same person, but I've seen 3 of these resumes before. I asked to meet them. His tone turned cold. They didn't even make it to second review. What does that mean? Sharon asked softly. Callum looked up. It means someone's interfering with the process of recruitment. And for what reason? She hesitated. Could it be an honest mistake? No, he said flatly. Errors don't come in patterns. This is filtered, selective, and he flipped to a final sheet, tapping a signature. This isn't even his handwriting. Who's the head of HR? Silence fell. Then Callum's voice lowered. There is a deal going on, some kind of agreement between internal HR and an outside recruitment firm. These failed candidates, they're probably being diverted to private contracts with charges. Frost Utilities pays for training or placement bonuses, and someone is pocketing the difference. Sharon blinked. You're saying it's a scam, a quiet one, but big enough to compromise our expansion. He stood up, the folder now firm in his hands, but before leaving he paused and looked at her. You brought this forward. I wasn't sure if it meant anything. It means everything. His tone softened. And now you're part of this. She hesitated. Then he asked, more serious this time. Would you be willing to present this to the executive board? Sharon's eyes widened. Me. You're the one who found it. Your words would carry weight. She looked down, then nodded slowly. Yes, I will, even if it's uncomfortable. I have kept silent in the past, she said softly, and I regret it every day. Not this time. For a moment, neither moved. Then Callum offered a nod, not just of but respect. That night, as Sharon walked back to the cleaning cart, the storm outside had passed, but another kind of storm had just started. The boardroom on 18th floor it had been unusually full that morning. The tension in the air reflected in the long glass table. Department heads adjusted their ties. Assistants hovered near the corners, and Callum Frost stood at the head, unflinching as always. Except today, a stranger sat among them. Sharon was in her plain white blouse, and wearing dark trousers, her hands folded into her lap. Seemed completely out of place, but eyes were steady. Callum opened the meeting without preamble. Before we begin updates on the upcoming production expansion, there's something we need to take up. He turned to Sharon. Miss Reed, if you will. A few eyebrows raised. The cleaning staff here. Sharon stood. Her voice wasn't loud, but it didn't waver. Last week, I found a folder of the rejected job applications in the basement storage. Curious, I reviewed them. They were strong candidates, degrees, experience, even internal referrals. All were dismissed for the same reason, then failed to meet performance standards. But none had so much as passed the first interview. She distributed photocopies of several resumes, each one neatly highlighted. These were not bad applicants. They were filtered out and repeatedly by one person. A low murmur caller, his voice even tempered. Miss Reed is unfamiliar with the way we go about our recruiting process. What she is suggesting is speculative. Callum leant forward. You're right, Dalton. She's not from HR. He opened a folder of his own and pulled out a document. But I had our legal department check the signature on these rejection memos. He slid the paper across the table. They don't match yours. Dalton stiffened. Are you accusing me? Callum cut in, his tone flat, though with a keen edge. I'm stating facts. The signature was forged, and all the rejected candidates were referred to a private agency that just so happens to split referral fees with one of our internal vendors. A beat of silence, nobody moved. Dalton opened his mouth, then shut it again. He looked down at his hands. Callum stood up slowly. You see, be better, safer, cleaner. I won't let quiet deals rot the foundation. He turned to the room. From now on, we will audit our hiring pipeline, transparent at every stage. Then he turned back to Sharon. She did not owe us a thing. She could have kept quiet, but she spoke with nothing to gain. That's the kind of integrity I want around that table. Sharon sat back, breath shallow. Her heart pounded in her chest, but not out of fear. This was something new. Someone had just stuck up for her. Publicly, unapologetically, and not just anyone, him. No applause followed, just quiet agreement, a few silent nods, but that was enough. For the first time in a long while, Sharon didn't feel invisible. Callum closed the folder, meeting adjourned. As the room emptied, he walked past her and softly said, "Thank you." Sharon didn't reply. She simply looked at him, eyes shining but steady, and nodded once. The kind of nod that says, I'm not used to being seen. But I see you too. The offer came quietly. No big speech, no boardroom audience, just the two of them, standing beside the vending machine, in that dimly lit break room, at 11:43 p.m., where she once had given him a cup of bitter coffee, with trembling hands. Now it was him who offered something more than a drink. I want you to stay, Callum said, full-time internal quality and welfare oversight. It's a new position, but you're the reason it exists. Sharon, she blinked, her hands loosely holding the mop handle. She hadn't expected this. Not like this. You mean a real job with a badge? She half joked, then quickly favor, and not out of pity, because I trust your judgment. She stared at the tile. Expression didn't change. He waited. I can't just build a life from someone else's hand, she continued. You gave me a chance. and I'll always be grateful. But I have lived long enough being the person someone helped. I need to know I can stand on my own." Callum nodded once, slowly. "That makes sense." She gave a small apologetic smile, her voice soft. "Thank you for everything." Outside, there was a distant rumble of thunder. The storm had returned, soft at first, but steady, the rain drumming against the office windows. By the time she reached the front lobby, it was pouring. She stepped outside, hugging her thin coat closer around her. Her daughter was at the sitters tonight, warm and safe. For a moment, that was all that mattered. "Wait," came his voice behind her. She turned. Callum stepped closer, the rain gently speckling his shirt collar. "I used to think getting through a storm alone made me stronger," he said quietly. "But lately, I wonder if standing still, just waiting for someone, is harder." He handed her the umbrella. She took it with careful fingers, but didn't open it. Callum met her eyes, and for once there was no calculation in his expression. No walls, just the sort of quiet honesty that rarely survived in boardrooms or late-night reports. "If you walk away now, I won't stop you," he said. "But if there's even a small part of you that wants to stay, not for the job, not for gratitude, but because you believe there's something here." He let the sentence hang. Sharon looked at the umbrella in her hands. The storm around them blurred the sidewalk into silver streaks. One step away and she'd disappear into the night. "One step forward and out," she said, voice low. "I've got a toddler who cries at 300 a.m., no degree, and still forget to eat lunch half the week." Callum gave a rare, crooked smile. "I don't need perfect, just someone who stays." A beat passed. Sharon looked up at him, her lips trembling, not from fear, but from the fragile hope rising in her. Opened the umbrella and moved in closer, putting it up over both their heads. For the first time in a long time, they didn't need to hurry anywhere. A year later, the Frost Utilities logo shone brighter than ever above the doors of its new manufacturing wing. But this time, below it, a smaller sign drew just as much attention. "Family First," now with on-site childcare for all staff. The ribbon-cutting ceremony had wrapped. The guests were gone. The last of the corporate handshakes had faded into the soft hum of nightfall. But behind the main building, laughter still lingered in the garden, strung with warm fairy lights. Sharon stood at the portable grill, flipping small cinnamon pancakes, sleeves rolled up, a smear of flour on her cheek. The blonde hair was pulled in its usual lazy bun, with loose strands catching the breeze. She wore a crisp white blouse and dark jeans, not new, but clean and pressed, simple, comfortable. From across the garden, Callum watched her. He was no longer the man who walked past everyone with eyes on his phone. Tonight, he wasn't the CEO. Down to the minute. He was just a man quietly carrying 2 plates toward the woman who had changed everything. When he reached her, she smiled. Round 2. He set the plates, no longer a baby but a spritly toddler, now in a pink dress, was toddling across the lawn with a toy spatula in hand. Chasing after Bubbles. "She's going to think kitchens smell like cinnamon and meetings," Sharon teased. "Could be worse," Callum said, stepping closer. His voice softened. "She could have grown up without all this." Sharon looked around. The garden, the lights, the chatter from employees staying late to enjoy the small unofficial celebration. She nodded. "Yeah, it could have." Callum hesitated for a moment, then wrapped one lightly, put his arm around her waist. Not asking, just being there. Present, gentle. "I never thanked you," he said. "For that night in the rain. For taking you didn't have to," she said finally. "You built a place where people like me don't have to start from scratch." He looked at her. "You didn't start from scratch. You started from hope." A breeze passed through, rustling the curtains tied at the back porch, brushing past the old umbrella, now hanging on a wooden hook along the railing of the balcony. The fabric was faded, a bit torn, just like the day it had been shared. Next to it, on the beam, a small wooden plaque had been nailed in. Hope does not need thunder, just one hand that stays. Sharon looked up at it, blinking. You to the pan. I didn't know you could cook, she said, smirking. I still can't, he said. But I'm willing to burn a few things trying. She laughed, and something in him relaxed. There were no vows tonight, no kisses in the rain, no grand pronouncements, just shared silence, shared warmth, and shared a way forward. Not perfect, but real. And for both of them, that was more than a stirring story of second chances, quiet resilience, and the kind of love that doesn't need grand gestures, just a hand that remains in. If Sharon's journey moved you, if Callum's quiet growth reminded you that change is always possible, and if that little umbrella on the balcony meant more than just shelter from the rain, then please support the channel by hitting that hype button, subscribing for more heartwarming, grounded stories, and sharing this episode with someone who believes in hope, no matter how small it starts. This is Soul-Stirring Stories, where we believe every quiet heart deserves to be heard. Until next time, stay soft, stay strong, and stay with us.